here at I guess it's our 8th year doing these lectures, and today we are going to get to hear a lot about the medicinal benefits of cannabis. Gayle has survived a wide range of issues herself, as well as having learned a lot through sharing with other people. And so she's got a lot of information to share about this plant and different products you can make of it and stuff. And so we're happy to have her here today to talk about that. So I'm just going to let her speak about how cannabis helps her out. So there it is. That's you.
Would you like to sit up closer so you can see things in here? I've brought a lot of things to show everybody. Thanks for coming today. Thanks for those online. You can read it and watch it later. It's wonderful now that we can do things like this. Talk to a few people and spread it out to many. It's absolutely wonderful. Makes my day. I'm Gayle Quin. I've been a cannabis advocate since the age of 13, and I'm 55 now. I learned at a very early age that cannabis was a almost necessary part of my life. I was a very sick child. I had a compromised immune system growing up, and I had food allergies before people really knew what they were, and they wreaked havoc with my life. When I was 13, my sister invited me upstairs one day to have a puff. She said, I knew that they'd been up to something, but I didn't know what it was, and she filled up a bowl with some brown crumbly stuff and said, this is hash, have some. And right from my first toke, it seemed to fire neurons throughout my body that hadn't been firing before. It's like I suddenly woke up. I felt like I'd never felt before. And it wasn't long after that that I started my first menstrual cycle, which I hemorrhaged severely through. And I soon found I spend the first 2 or 3 days of my cycle usually in bed. And if I was lucky enough for my sister to come and call me upstairs and say, come and have a puff, I soon found out that it was helped me get out of bed, helped my cramps. It stopped my cramps almost completely, and I was able to go to school and function. So it was, like I say, right from a very early age, I discovered that this was a very useful and beneficial plant. I was also chemically sensitive from a very early age. I think I had the first sign of liver dysfunction about the age of 10 or 11. And I couldn't eat aspirins for pain. They upset my stomach too much. It felt like I was eating razor blades. And back in those days, about the only thing that we had other than that they had was Midol. And usually I could possibly every few months I'd be able to tolerate about a half of one, but they would make me so nauseous and sick that most of the time I just wouldn't bother eating them. So back then I only knew about smoking the herb, and smoking it helps immensely for stopping pain immediately, but it acts for only a short term. Over the years I've learned that it's much more beneficial to eat cannabis, especially if you're in chronic pain and need it to help manage chronic conditions. If you eat it eat it regularly and have a constant supply in your system, it keeps your body from building up to what I describe as a breaking point where pain gets to where it's intolerable and you want to bang your head on a wall or something just so you feel something different. It's no fun. Should I get into
When was the first time you ate a cookie? I've never heard that.
The first time I ate cannabis was in 1974. When I got married and moved out of home and saw a High Times magazine. I moved to the big city of Victoria. I grew up out in Saanich. And saw a High Times magazine, and there was an ad in the High Times magazine for a cannabis cookbook. And I'd been a gardener my whole life. My dad brought us up in the garden. And the first time I discovered pot, which was a funny story too. I turned and said, "What is this?" Because I'd only been smoking hash for about 3 months and hadn't even heard it. Didn't even know that hash came from pot yet. So it's pretty funny. Anyway, so so I ordered this cookbook because I had these seeds. I tried to grow the plant a few times myself. Right when I was 13, the first seeds that I found, I put them in the ground and grew them, and my mom found them and threw them out. And I argued with her that God had given us these seeds and it wasn't right for her to throw them out because I found it to be useful medicine, and she didn't want to hear anything about that and just said not in my house because it's illegal. So I went and found my plants. They were down by the pump house, and I took them up to the back field and planted them up in the back field, and they did quite well for, I guess, what we call Mexican ditchweed now, but back then it was very fine medicine because that's all we had. And so that would be the first time I cooked it. It was a wonderful little cookbook, and I still have it. And it taught how to make oil. It didn't tell us about decarboxylating. That was in a different book, in an alchemy book, and they didn't relate the two together yet. And, they were trying to figure out how to make cannabis more potent, and they found out through contained decarboxylating in a solvent, you could make this really strong oil. And now, of course, we call it honey oil, and have refined the making of it quite considerably. It's called butter or honey oil, hash oil, depending on the way that it's made. A lot of people, when they first started, like Brownie Mary, when she first started making brownies and taking them to the AIDS community in San Francisco, they like to use hash a lot because it's very easy to make the same, more or less standardized dosage. You could pretty much say how much was in each brownie quite a bit easier than the way they used to just tell you to measure this much cannabis and this much oil, cook them and strain them, and then make your cookies. It didn't really, and they were usually too strong for most people, especially the first time you consume cannabis. When you eat it, there's a chemical reaction in your body that can make it affect you like 10 times stronger than it will ever affect you again. So it's really important the first time you consume cannabis to try a very small amount and wait up to 2 hours to feel effects, and then try eating another small amount before like eating a whole brownie or a cookie. Because the effects, especially if you're not used to smoking it, and feeling psychoactive effects and the way the euphoric effects that it can affect your body, it can be quite discomfortable for some people that aren't used to feeling that way. most people, I tell them, if they start to feel that way, it's the cannabis trying to help them go to sleep. So the best thing for you to do is just go to bed and go to sleep, because by the time you're eating it, most people have a lot of difficulty sleeping. Another thing eating does is help you cut down on the amount that you need to smoke considerably. The first thing I tell people that are worried about the amount that they're consuming, either both because of their lungs or the amount of money that they're having to spend, I ask them if they've been eating. And as soon as they start eating it regularly, they usually come back and tell me that they've been able to cut their smoking in half. It's quite amazing. And when you ingest cannabis, it doesn't get into your lung stream as quickly, but it hasn't been heated as high a temperature either. The higher temperature that it gets heated to, and the quicker it gets introduced into your bloodstream, like by smoking or vaporizing, the quicker that's going to break down in your system. So you're going to have to remedicate more often. If you ingest it, it takes longer to feel the effects, between half an hour and an hour for some people, but it's going to stay in your throughout your body for a lot longer. For most people, it's between 4 and 8 hours, but I've had friends come back and tell me that they've still felt the effects of one cookie from 12 to 48 hours later. So it's quite remarkable, and in how it affects different people differently, the amount of things that it can be used for, and how minute amount it actually takes to be of benefit to a person. And so, any more questions so far? Carry on. Well, no, we've got lots of time. Let's carry on with me a little bit more. Okay. So I started eating it, and we didn't have a very good supply, so I didn't eat very much at that point in my life, but I did start having other serious medical problems. I had major gynecological problems. I had pelvic inflammatory disease. I had to have a colon biopsy at a very early age, in between my two sons, actually, to test for a precancerous condition. And throughout all these things, the one medication that I could take, I found, was cannabis. They kept trying to give me painkillers, and my body just wouldn't tolerate them. I was on antibiotics for years on end, which made my conditions worse. It wasn't until I moved to Salt Spring in about the mid-'80s, I managed to be in enough open area and have land that I managed to start growing my own cannabis again. And I was working in the hospital for a few years, and in the early 90s I contracted hepatitis C, which hadn't been heard of in BC yet. And I was quarantined for 10 days, and I thought I was going to die. So did everybody else. It was 8 months after I got out of the hospital that they finally did testing. And said, so at that point I asked the doctor what to expect, and he told me to expect to be dead in 5 years.
Yeah, please come up front, lady. She's got some products that she's going to show as well, so you know, it's better to see it that way.
Oh.
So my sons were fairly young at this point. They were 11 and 13 years old. So I told my doctor that I found that unacceptable. And I'd been seeing a naturopath. And so I went to see my naturopath and asked him what his favorite book was. And I went home and bought that book and started reading. And I learned that dandelions, roots and leaves, and milk thistle, and nettles, they help my liver, but the pain wasn't going away in it, and I couldn't sleep and I couldn't eat. I was nauseous all the time. And I found my cookbook again one day, and I said, I'm gonna make myself some oil and I made a batch of pancakes. The first few batches I was so sick I just ground up the leaf and threw it in the pancakes and made them, and it's sort of like chewing, it's kind of like, it's not really all that pleasant, especially once the leaf has been dried. They weren't that great to eat, but I managed to get half of them, one down, and a few hours later I finally I noticed that my pain wasn't as bad, because even smoking cannabis wasn't helping with the pain. And so a couple of days later I managed to make some oil, and the more I ate, the more cannabis I ate, the better I felt, the less pain I was in. I felt like the swelling in my liver was starting to subside. I went to see my doctor and I told him everything that I was doing. I was doing vitamin C. I learned about doing vitamin C flushes, doing high mega doses of vitamin C. And he said to me, well, it can't hurt you. Just do whatever you feel like you can tolerate. And he'd write things down. And 2 years later, I came in for my checkup to tell him what I was doing and how I was feeling, and he took all my vital signs and he looked at me and he said, I think you're getting better. And when I looked at him, I told him I was afraid to say anything like that because I thought I might be just imagining it. So it was a pretty exciting time, because it wasn't, and then it was about a year after that where when they first started to develop the hepatitis drugs that they've had available, and so I went to go see him. I was all excited again, and he told me it wasn't an option for me because I was just so chemically sensitive, and just to carry on with my herbs. So the things my body has been telling me my whole life, like eating cannabis for all these and smoking it for all these different conditions, modern science is reproving these to be all true, what people have known for actually thousands of years. I wanted to write it down, but I forgot for you. There's the recipe for the anointing salve in the Bible is made out of myrrh and cinnamon and cannabis and a couple of other herbs steeped into olive oil, strained, mixed with beeswax, which is essentially the same way that we make our products here today for the club. Okay, I'm going to start getting into the products, and I'll probably bounce back and forth between them and more of my story as I come up with how I've been using them since because I came to move from Salt Spring to Victoria in 2001, and it was 2003 when I found the Cannabis Buyers Club of Canada, and quickly became involved with them. I volunteered a lot, and soon started working part-time there. And shortly after that, I started to help expand the products that they had, because I've been using cannabis so much extensively with eating it and have also learned a lot about different diets because of my health condition and the problems that I'd had with allergies. I had to learn how to cook without using wheat quite early. I was severely allergic to wheat. So, where should we start?
Cookie.
Is it cookie? Everybody's favorite. Okay. Should I just pass them around?
Yeah, I can pass them around.
Okay. Let's start with our regular cookie. We use all of the most healthful products that we can. We use fresh ground wheat that's actually grown out in the chosen now. Raw sugar. It's leaf steeped into olive oil. We use 3 kinds of leaf in our baking because the chemical makeup of the plant has usually between 6 and 12 of the active cannabinoids in each plant. So if we use 3 different kinds of plant, you're exponentiating that by quite a lot. So the cookies are, we have, should I go through the different kinds? Or?
Sure.
We have a regular, which is chocolate chip, and we have farm eggs in them as well. Peanut butter and peanut butter chocolate chip, and oatmeal that's got organic apricots in it, and ginger that's extremely good for your digestive system, of course, and ginger and oatmeal. Yeah, that's all. One of the best things that the cookies do is they help your muscles relax and they help induce sleep. The leaf has a lot more of the cannabinoids and less THC. THC is a strong painkiller, and the other ingredients are, the other chemicals are more muscle relaxers, and like I said, they help you to sleep as well. So they help the leaf is infused into clarified butter, so as well. And a lot of people, when they first started out, they and especially if it was their first time eating cannabis, I tell them to cut it into quarters. They start with a quarter and work their way up to see how they do with that. It's an extremely good antispasmodic, so people who have conditions like epilepsies and Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis, things like that, it's extremely important for them to ingest cannabis and get that, to try to keep that level, the cannabinoid level in your body at a constant level. It keeps you from going into stronger seizures. Takes less cannabis to smoke to bring your pain back under control, and I've seen, I've watched eye tremors from epileptic seizures stop in 3 seconds after somebody's had a toke. But if they've been eating cannabis constantly, like have a rhino first thing in the morning when you get up, those wouldn't probably have ever been as severe. Can you hear me okay? Okay, the rhinol is the green one, and the yellow one is the stockinol. And the rhinol is leaves suspended in grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is very beneficial for your stomach and your intestines, and it helps to lower cholesterol. We also put lecithin in all of our edible products. It's an oil emulsifier, and it's also a super nerve nutrient. So it helps your body absorb the olive oil easier, and so you get more of the cannabinoids absorbed into your system. And it also supplies your nerves, so anybody with MS, it's an essential part of their diet.
What about arthritis?
For arthritis? For arthritis, I found topical use to be most beneficial unless you're in a lot of pain, and then eating it would be helpful as well, using the two combined. It's very helpful. The Ryanol are wonderful for people who want to use cannabis constantly but don't want any psychoactive effects. It's a minute amount of cannabis that's in one of those, and it's just amazing that it can still work. It's a very good muscle relaxer. It helps your digestive, so it helps people with irritable bowel syndrome or any kind, or colitis or anything like that, because it just helps, especially with smooth muscles. It just keeps all your muscles relaxed. So it's another reason why it's such a good painkiller for after automobile accidents and things like that.
So where does that come from? From the leaf?
The Ryanol is made from the leaf. Yeah, and the yellow one, the stocanol, is actually, we save all of the stalk and we decarboxylate that, which is cooking it at 300 degrees for 30 minutes beforehand in a sealed container, and it converts the CBDA and the THCA, which are the acid states of the chemicals, over into the THC and the CBD state. Now, we do have two different types of the stock product. We have one where we have this, which is a kamut puff. It's our least healthy ingredient, our least healthy product. It's organic kamut puffs and hemp hearts, but it's got marshmallows to stick it together. Because people just love them, and if you can't eat, you want to feed people things that they're going to be able to eat anyway. So if somebody's dying of cancer, I'm not going to begrudge them eating a marshmallow if it's going to help them stay out of pain. But we're finding through continued studies that when it's decarboxylated and the acid forms are converted, which happens naturally when you're smoking, it's happening instantaneously as you're smoking, which is one of the reasons why it breaks down so fast once you've inhaled it as well. But in its acid state, it's a much stronger anti-inflammatory. And then once it's been decarboxylized, the THC switches over into a stronger painkiller. So they all have their various strong points in the various different states. And I believe in all my herbal use in whole plant therapy. Obviously not in the cases where certain parts of a plant are poisonous and other parts aren't, but where a whole plant is safe to use, I like to use a whole plant. And that's why we make things out of all the different parts of the plant, because they each do slightly different things. Do that one next. Okay.
Speaking of using all the parts.
Okay, the next thing Ted wants to show you is our newest product, and we have lovingly named it an Eccles Square after the prosecutor in our court case that we just went through earlier this year, where she finds one Ryanol capsule isn't enough of a painkiller for her, and two of the capsules make her legs too wobbly. She can't keep up to her children. So she takes another product that I'll talk to you about in just a minute, canoil, that's made out of the bud So it's a stronger painkiller, the same as this little cookie, right? And she opens up the Rhinol and puts just 2 drops of this, 1 or 2 drops into the Rhinol and takes that. And that gives her the extra pain killing qualities that she needs without losing the mobility of her muscles.
That's a job trying to line them up.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah. I think her husband does it for her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd end up spilling it.
Yeah. So it's really encourage all our members to really experiment with the products to find out what works best for them and to go about things slowly as well. And we do it for time.
When you take the Rhinol, like those 2, is it like you were just saying earlier that you have to let the product start to build up in your system before it really becomes effective?
No.
No, it'll do it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, right away. Yeah. A lot of some people takes maybe smoking. I've heard some people it takes 3 or 4 times before they start to feel effects. Some people I know they can't have 2 totes but they're asleep in 5 minutes, so they just.
What about for breast cancer? Products for breast cancer?
I was going to get to that in a minute. That's going to be the canoil here that I have.
Just to clarify one little point, what happens when people use it, in 3 or 4 days, as an edible in particular, if they're in acute pain that's caused by inflammation, is that as the days go by through constant application, the inflammation will go down day after day. So it's not that the cannabis is more effective on day 4 of treatment than it would be on day 1. It would be that the cumulative effect of taking away that inflammation, which would be the cause of the pain, would improve to a certain point. Right?
Yeah.
The canoil, I think.
Which would take us to the massage oil. But
We'll finish the canoil and the
Yeah.
lozenges, right?
Yeah. I'm going to talk about the lozenge first. And then we'll get back to the breast cancer. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah.
This is a lozenge. It's goji berries or Chinese wolfberries, and bud infused into olive oil, and we use lecithin in it and the flaxseed water again cooked to hold it all together. It's very simple and it's very, very effective. It's this little thing has astounded me over and over. It'll stop an abscessed tooth overnight. We have dentists that'll attest to that. My dentist, I
Take the
saved
infection away?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Without having to go on antibiotics. We'll just, yeah. You put it, like tuck it in your cheek and just let it dissolve up beside the tooth that's being affected. And likewise, if you have a sore throat or something like that, you just absorb it. It actually lasts longer and works better because it's just being absorbed like homeopathically right through the mucous membranes in your mouth without having to go through your digestive tract. Your digestive tract and your liver actually neutralizes most of the medicinal effects of the cannabis going through our digestive tract, which is another reason why it just astounds me of how little it takes to be effective for us. But I found the lozenges work amazingly well just because you do just sit them in your cheek and absorb them. We've had bowel surgery canceled through the use of them. It took a year of one member eating them, but it totally removed an obstruction that she was scheduled to have several feet of her bowels removed, and over the course of a year it shrank, and by the time her surgery pre-operation checkup came about, they found it was gone and they finally canceled her surgery. So they far exceeded my expectations. They help with digestive system problems. They're a very, very strong antibiotic, and again an anti-inflammatory. Cannabis is also an antioxidant, and the list just keeps going on. It's a neuroscience has proven now that it's a neuroprotectorant. So it's one of the few things besides like ginkgo biloba, I guess I'd say, and maybe gotu kola would be close runners up, but to protect yourself from adult onset dementias, Dr. McCoolin has found that it's the best thing to stop the trauma from either head injuries from either accidents or strokes and things like that. THC and cannabis will just stop the injury right away and protect your brain from more injury occurring. Yeah,
15 minutes.
Hey?
15 minutes.
Woo! Okay. So the strongest thing that we make is called canoil, and it's 2.5 grams of bud cooked into olive oil. And I used this extensively. The last challenge I faced was breast cancer a year and a half ago. I won't get into that part. Anyway, another amazing thing about ingesting cannabis that I found is the more your body is using it, the less psychoactive effects you're going to feel. Normally I would eat a tablespoon of this, or 2 tablespoons, depending on how much pain I was in, 1 or 2 times a day. And the nice thing about this is it's already cooked and in olive oil. You can put it on any kind of food that you could tolerate, so it's very good for specialized diets and for traveling. But when I was going through my breast cancer surgery, I was eating a whole bottle of this every day. I was in a lot of pain, and I still wasn't eating a whole one of these. I put it in a blender and make a smoothie and drink it 3 times, divide it into three times a day. I was getting pain relief, but I was still not getting any psychoactive effects. I couldn't believe it. So my body was just using it so much to fight cancer. And after my surgery, this is the only thing that I use for killing pain. I never ate any painkillers. I ate one anti-inflammatory while I was in the hospital for the nurses, so it makes them feel better. And after that, I just use this.
What's it taste like? What's it taste like?
Tastes like olive oil.
You don't taste any of that?
Not a lot. The leaf has a lot more taste, a lot more of the plant taste to it.
Yeah.
Than the bud does.
Okay.
So it just more tastes oily.
I have a tough time getting past the smell.
Do ya?
Yeah.
Oh no. What is your nose?
Maybe put Vicks under my nose and then swallow it, right?
Yeah, because on one of our trips when I ran out of lozenges and my tooth was acting up, I actually just took my canoil and just dumped it all around my tooth and on my gum and just sort of sat there and held it there as long as I could, and that worked as good as the lozenges did. So, cannabis is being found to be a very effective cancer fighting agent. Not on all types of cancer. There is a couple of types of cancer that cannabis will aggravate. So it's very important to always work with your doctor or your pharmacist. If you're not happy with, telling people if they're not happy with the answers they're getting from their doctors, to go talk to their pharmacist. You'll oftentimes get a lot more information out of them. So, and then because the type of cancer and the type of tumors, some things, like any kind of cannabis applied topically will help protect your skin. I just use the regular massage oil, and it's starting to reverse a lot of the liver spots that I got through the hepatitis, and bumps that came up from too much sun are slowly starting to go away as well from using the massage oil quite regularly. And we make about 4 different kinds of massage oil, and this is leaves cooked into olive oil. We make a St. John's wort that's really good for bumps and scrapes, and it'll help strengthen your circulatory system as well. Let's see, we also make a comfrey that's good for healing bones and improving your circulation. And an arnica oil, which is pretty much specific for arthritis. It helps break up any deposits that cause the swelling in arthritis, and it's an extremely good painkiller. As you can see by going to any drugstore, they'll have several kinds of arthritis creams all containing arnica now. So the pharmaceuticals are catching on, but they are also trying to take control of these plants. Yep.
The arnica, when you fuse your own flowers into the arnica oil?
Yeah, for several years my brother actually picked them for us and made the oil for us, but
and then what do you do to get the marijuana into the arnica oil?
We mix it. We just make arnica oil first and the cannabis oil, and then we just mix them half and half.
Okay, half and half.
Yep. Yeah.
It's not too strong for the arnica?
Yeah. No. No, we haven't had any. No. And then we make.
And that's good for arthritis.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had 2 arthritis surgeries that I know have canceled from the use of it. Yep. Those are just the ones that I know of.
Where can you get these products?
You can get them at the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club of Canada, or you can learn how to make them yourself from our website. We have a recipe, Hempology 101. We have on the side, there's got a thing that says recipes, and our whole recipe book's in there. We also make a lip balm. But another thing I want to talk about is a product that came about from not wanting to waste the material again. It's called we call it a canna patch, and it's just a poultice. And it's wonderful for direct pain relief. You can take it out of the bag and just pin the whole thing, like if you had a sore shoulder underneath your shirt like that, or I tell people to put a towel over their favorite chair when they're going to sit down for the night, and pin it to the chair so they can lean against it. When I fell and broke my wrist, I just took it like this and a roll of masking tape and taped it on my wrist and made a cast out of it. It was the first time that we had just made them. I always said I was giving my life to science. And so a couple hours after we made them, I was running to a doctor's appointment and fell and broke my wrist. So by the time I got back to the club, my wrist was really sore. So I taped it on there and decided to time it. Within 4 minutes, the pain was starting to subside, and within 4 hours, I had no pain at all. And it healed in 3 weeks. I had a hairline fracture. And the other things that we have, some people don't like the oil, so we take some of the massage oils that we make and just add beeswax to them to turn them into a salve. Another wonderful thing about the plant is if you have a bad cut and it won't stop bleeding, and you can't go get stitches, or you don't want to give yourself stitches. You can take a bud. You just take a raw bud, flatten it, stick it on your cut, and put a Band-Aid on it, and it'll act like a styptic because of all the resins in it. And so what you're doing instantly, besides stopping the pain involved with the cut, you're directly applying, you're stopping the bleeding, directly applying an antibiotic. It pulls the skin back together because of the resins in it. It's an antibacterial, so make sure you, and an anti-inflammatory. So it's like helping your body on every level of healing possible. One of our staff just cut his, he also works at one of the bong stores, and he cut his hand, and it was too big of a cut to stick a bud on, so he put a little bit of the salve that he'd made around the cut and then sprinkled hash all over it and put it back together and put a bandage on it, and it was healed in under a week, and he's got very minimal scarring. It was just amazing. I've seen these heal broken eyes and cut eyes in 3 days. I used it extensively for recovering from my breast surgery. I put one above and one below my incision, and I had a little bit of trouble with my drain tube a couple of times, but I never had one sign of infection the whole time. And like I said, the pain I was able to keep under control quite well, extremely well with the canoil. So
what would you take? Like say you had your breast removed,
mm-hmm.
and you're kind of over the pain, but now you're going into chemo or whatever.
No, and my new chemo would kill me.
Yeah. I'm
too chemically sensitive. So I procrastinated long enough that it wasn't an option for me anymore. Being an Aries, and I was seeing a naturopath, and I've been doing more holistic form of approach.
So what would you take then for after your surgery? What would you take?
I kept eating the canoil, a whole
Canoil.
bottle full for I think about 3 or 4 months almost, probably maybe even 5 months before I started lowering my dose of the canoil that I was eating.
And that took the cancer away, or?
I was doing intravenous vitamin C. I'm pretty sure the surgeon took all of the cancer away. I had an amazing surgeon, and they caught it it was spreading extremely rapidly, but they caught it at an early onset. So he took out 20 lymph nodes and 17 of them were infected. But I continued, I was eating fractionated pectin, and that makes sure that any broken off cancer cells wouldn't reattach to the treatment, and the intravenous vitamin C, and I was drinking herbal teas like Asiac and things like that the whole time. Yeah.
Do you know how many milligrams of vitamin C you were taking daily? And were you taking ascorbic acid or citric acid?
I take ascorbic acid, and I also take it mixed with rose hips for bioflavonoids. I don't do so good with citrus, so I eat lots of rose hips. They're a good source of bioflavonoids. It helps your body absorb the vitamin C. I take about 5 to 10,000 milligrams orally, but once a week I was getting 50 grams intravenously. Yeah, very, very high doses of vitamin C.
Yeah.
And a few months ago I had my year checkup, all free and clear still. Pretty excited about that.
About the vitamin C, were you taking the powder mixed in with water?
Yeah, and with juice.
As opposed to pills?
Well, I do both. I take the ones, if I'm traveling, I take the pills, with me for my rose hips. Otherwise, I just throw lots of rose hips in with the tea that I make, and just get the powder. Yeah, mix it in with juice. I use so much like a heaping teaspoon. When I first started, I was doing that every hour. So you're taking a gram or more every hour. That's an ascorbic acid flush, and it really does a good job of flushing poisons out of your system. You can read about it in. I read about it in Phyllis and I believe John Bach's book, The Healing Prescription. Pharmacy. Oh, I can't remember the right name of it, but I can look it up for you if you call work.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thanks. And maybe to conclude, one more question. You asked about the club a bit. To join the Buyers Club, you would need a diagnosis of permanent physical disability or disease, not a recommendation, just a proof of condition, unless it's a mental health issue, which would require a recommendation from a doctor. But for the majority of people that deal with arthritis, Crohn's disease, they just need to prove they have the medical issue. But we did make it available online. I think you said Herbology. It's really on the Cannabis Buyers Club page. And so, there's a full page and some videos that shows how to make some of the infusions and stuff if you have access
make
to
a
your
lip
own
balm
weight.
too.
And so, yeah, just like to thank Gayle and like to thank you all for coming. And next week is reading week, so we don't have a lecture. But in 2 weeks' time, we have our friend Ernie coming down from the North Island Compassion Club, and he'll be here talking about his efforts distributing medical marijuana in Courtenay and his court cases and what's happening up there as well. But we'll be on the other side of the country. We're flying off next week for Halifax, so we won't be back here for a lecture again until 2015, actually. So just like to thank everyone for coming, and we'll be here for 420 next week. But yeah, things are changing. So thanks
so do you
everyone.
have someone down at the store, like say you want to go and discuss what's going on with you, and that person can say, well, this is probably what you should be taking?
Yeah.
Oh, we have a lot of staff that know the products and how they're used.
Yeah.
In fact, now that when we hire people, we make them work 2 days in the bakery and 2 days at the store, so they know exactly how all the products are made. And working there, you can't help but learn the medical benefits, because people come in and go, oh, okay, yeah, this is great, it helps me with this, or and report back. So there's a very good feedback loop that we have from within the membership of how things are working and how people are using our products. So yeah, there would hopefully be any number of people at any moment that can help. That's why we feel we can go travel the country, because we have a very competent staff.
And you're open all week or?
Every day of the year.
Every
We've
day?
never closed since we've got the store.
Okay.
Every single day. Christmas
Where
Day.
is it? Where's it?
826 Johnson Street.
Pardon?
826 Johnson Street. I could give you a newspaper that's got our address in it. Not open.
Actually, I'd like one of those too.
Here, look what you got.
Because there's
Certainly.
a story, and then you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, here, she's got some current ones. Yeah, she was digging them up.
Yeah. I got more.
You didn't kill the class.
Oh, sorry. Thanks for coming out. Have a good day.
Oh no!
You got 'em.